Cody Alexander, Match Quarters. I'm going to break down the second quarter touchdown of Gabriel Davis of the Buffalo Bills versus Josh Williams of the Chiefs. I think it's a good example, a lot of teaching points to go for wide receiver and for DB. At the top of the route, you're going to see Davis just give kind of a little stutter get off. Now, the one thing that you don't want a corner to do is swipe with the outside hand, especially when he's got inside alignment and it's man coverage. That's exactly what happens with Josh Williams. Once he does this, his hips get a little bit locked. You can see him swipe. Now, let's look at Gabe Davis right here. Notice how he brings that hand up and swipes through. It doesn't bring the hand straight up to open up that kind of that underneath armpit pocket, but you can see how he stutters. And then he's going to take his hand and he's going to swipe down through that. We call that the snake technique. So I'm going to bring it up and I'm going to swipe through, and it doesn't mess with your running motion. Now, the Chiefs Williams has already done the outhand swipe and he's missed. So he's out of phase. He does an excellent job here of keeping his eyes down on the hip. So when you're out of phase, you don't want to look back and you don't want to be swiping or grabbing for the receiver. You want to keep your eyes down on the hip and you want to run through that. Now, Gabe Davis does a great job here of notice how he's leaning back into the field. It's not a hard lean, but he's leaning back into the field so he can stay right on the line and he can try and stack this receiver. Now, Williams gets close to the receiver, and instead of swiping, what I would say, swiping the wrist or punching that wrist, trying to get that wrist down, he punches through the pec. Now, the only issue with this, okay, is when you're out of phase, you want to get as close as possible as you can. I would have actually preferred him to swipe the wrist, get Gabe Davis to open up a little bit. That way it makes it a little bit easier to hook. Now, we're on the 34-yard line. We're in man coverage. He's going to go chest to chest, right? That's initially what's going to happen. So he goes chest to chest. The only issue with this is when you go chest to chest and you still have some room. So you can see right here that we have the first down marker. Okay, so we're only about 10 yards down the field. It's on 34. We've got another 20 yards to go almost until we get to the end zone. The problem with going to chest right here is that he ends up locking his hips, understanding that the ball is going to drop near the end zone, not necessarily be a back shoulder fade on the first down marker. So what ends up happening as he ends up punching both those hands to get chest to chest, the receiver's still accelerating because this is going to be a deep ball. This is a shot. This is going to be a 20-yard, 30-yard pass that's going to be attacking the end zone. And you can see Gabe Davis, as he feels that pressure there, he's just going to stick his hand right into the chest and slowly extend his arm, accelerating through that. So what ends up happening is the DB actually gives him a booster to go through. He locks his hips. He looks back. Notice Gabe Davis's trajectory too. The ball is up. It is not at a flat angle. It's not coming back through. It's not a low shoulder, back shoulder fade. So what ends up happening is Williams now gets caught and he's now out of phase. Gabe Davis catches it on the 5-yard line. So this is basically a 29-yard pass. Now, if you're in the low red zone, you want to get chest to chest because you know that ball is going to have to get either dropped into the bucket or we're probably getting some sort of a low shoulder fade. This is in the really kind of at the fringe of the red zone. This is the low field or high red zone. And so this ends up being a touchdown for the Bills. So again, let's go back to the beginning. He does a decent job of moving his feet, swipes with the wrong hand. He's now out of phase. Gabe Davis does a great job of doing the snake right there, swiping those hands, getting them off of them, leaning back into the field to stay on track and try and stack. Okay, Williams does a good job all the way until about right here. Instead of swiping through the hand to try and get hip to hip, chest to chest with him, he puts his hand out and actually allows Davis to then get separation with his hand. That's why you always want to chop that hand and get into it chest to chest before you do that. That allows Gabe Davis to accelerate into the end zone, and Allen throws a great ball to drop it in there. So both sides of the field you can learn something from. Nice stutter release, swipe of the hand, good out of phase technique by Williams. The only issue is You gotta, when you're in the field and you know this is going to be a shot, you've got to punch through that wrist. You've got to swipe that wrist, chop that wrist, however you want to teach that. Get into them, get in phase before you look back for the ball.